Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War weapon of Celestial Flask. Now that we've had a week to mess around with this thing, figured we'd go over a bunch of teams and basically just my impressions on it, as it is a pretty viable weapon. As far as obtaining it, it of course is available through the pay pass currently within Gems of War in the current season of Season 6. If you did not buy this pay pass, you can get it in 2 Bright Forest events from now, not the one at the end of this season, but the one that comes after that. That could be several months, similar to how Rope Dart wasn't around for about a year, as well as today. Dustbringer from Season 2 was finally available free to play because the 3rd component was finally available if you got the previous 2. So it does take a little while for it to roll back around, but it is in the season pass and came out this Monday if you did end up getting it. As far as what it does, ends up creating 3 potions of either blue, green, red, yellow, or purple, which is every color except brown, and then gains an extra turn. The fact that this actually excludes brown is a good thing, not a bad thing. The main reason for this is 2 of its colors that it uses are both the 2 colors that it can end up spawning, meaning yes, it can spawn mana back into itself, which is very useful, but also because it's more consistent the less that it does. If it literally only did blue or red, it would be even more powerful, even though it'd be less possible potions that would spawn. Overall, really amazing. One pretty interesting thing about it is all 3 potions are actually always the same color. This makes it even more powerful if they were completely random, because you will just basically get a 21 to 33 gem spawn, 7 to 11 for the gem spawn every single time you break all 3 at once. So the fact that you will minimum, if you destroy them all, end up hitting a 21 gem spawn off of this is of the exact same color, because they always spawn the same color, is exceedingly good. And of course, that has an automatic extra turn. On top of that, while it doesn't seem too relevant, it does come into play quite a bit. They'll give 1 mana to all allies. Can end up coming into play, even as cleanse for itself. It has a lot of things going. It has a lot of things going for it. Let me actually go show all the perks just to bring out all of them, and then we'll go mess with a couple teams that I've been testing over the course of the week. And overall, really strong weapon. That is not where you check the weapon thing. As far as the weapon, it ends up getting cause random positive status effect on itself, which is pretty useful. Has the cleanse, which obviously makes sure you get rid of any negative status effects, and if you have this in first slot, it will get rid of entangle, it'll get rid of freeze, useful things like that. Gives 1 extra mana to all allies, which honestly of these things is probably the most useful. It's the most consistently used one in any situation, and on top of that also gets to gain 4 life, which is pretty irrelevant, unlike the other 2, which are actually really good. It almost got 4 perfect perks. But anyways, as far as this weapon, let's go and actually start in Explore, because one pretty useful thing that it can do is run through Explore. So as far as what would normally be ran for a Zugov team, you would normally run something like Flamefer or Skea Crown, you know, something to kind of mana generate a little bit. However, Flask does that pretty well, having the automatic extra turn, be able to most likely generate. It is possible it creates yellow on this particular team. Generally, when you're using a Flask team, you ideally want to use the 5 colors that it ends up using. However, if it doesn't, it's not too big a deal, but you can get unlucky and spawn yellow, which of course just happens as we're doing the video, of course. So one nice thing about that is you can just go for Thrall. It's still going to pretty much extra turn you because of how many gems end up spawning from it, and then we end up just killing absolutely everything. So kill that out, kill that out. Unfortunately, no follow-up here, but we can just do Flask, get our guarantee extra turn, ideally on a color we actually need, though not too big a deal. We just mana generate back, and he's dead. But yeah, really insane. It is quicker than any weapon we've had here before. I'm pretty sure it is now the quickest way to be running Explore 12. So that alone is a pretty nice option for it as far as its viability. If it could ever stop spawning yellow, that would be absolutely amazing. Though even if it spawns yellow, it's not horrible. As you can see, we're still getting a lot of extra turn, a lot of value from it. It's not really slowing us down, even though it's giving us a completely incorrect color from what we would ideally be wanting. Can we get any battle that does not immediately start with the only color we do not use? Luckily, I believe both these other 2 teams do use every color, so we won't need to worry about that soon. Thank you, finally. So that's what it's supposed to do, ideally, something like red or something similar. You know, something that you actually need for mana accumulation. Though there's so much mana accumulation, you're normally half full anyways. And yeah, it just kills out everything. And it uses Slayer Hero class. We just had a class event for that this Thursday as well. But of course, main reason why Slayer Hero class is used is it has double enrage whenever it gets a kill, as well as enrage whenever it, gosh, can we get a real team? Enrage whenever it gets a kill, as well as enrage whenever it ends up doing an extra turn. But anyways, this next one that we're going to be doing, Blue Guild War. I actually used this the other day for Blue Guild War, which is kind of funny because we're actually up against a blue team as well. Kind of coincidental there. Unfortunately, we are frozen. However, that's the reason why we're using Beatrix. One single extra turn will fix that. Unfortunately, there's absolutely no way to get one single extra turn on this board. Is he using anything intimidating in first slot? Not really, though he's going to go for the converts. I'm going to try skull tracking him, see if we can get away with it. He does have 2 converts. Very annoying, this instant double convert teams. They are all over the place. So we got a yellow to green, which will not do anything, and a purple to green, which will also not do anything. So I will simply go take this purple then. Keep in mind, Thrall is a pretty amazing option to be using for pretty much any Flask team with how strong he is. Of course, in a pure blue team, you cannot end up doing that. However, definitely worth considering once you're later in the game and have the magic to be able to effectively use Thrall. Really good option to be doing. So he is purple to green. I just want to double check to see if we have any way whatsoever to make sure he does not get any possible extra turn from that. So we might have to take a somewhat useless green here just to make sure that doesn't end up happening, just so he doesn't have as many good options for his move. We are in a little bit of a bad situation where we have no way to really cleanse out. He has enough damage to kill us too, so I'm going to have to go for a skull poke here. Little bit unfortunate. I think we're just going to have to go for a red flask and see if we can actually get enough mana from that. We could also ideally hope for a cleanse here. And we do indeed get our cleanse. So, of course, we're using Monk Hero class with this too. Not only does it gain Barrier every round, but also gets the little bit of mana. And because we have every single time we take an extra turn, which is how we just hit full mana by taking a green, even though we're not using green. Well, we are using green, but you know, the Flask doesn't use green. Since getting 3 mana every single time we take an extra turn from the board. But yeah, we just end up doing that. Has the cleanse off of that because Beatrix ends up working out pretty well. So end up taking this out, hopefully end up getting something good. We end up getting all the blues we need, which is pretty convenient for a pure blue team. And while it took a little bit to get rolling, we are now rolling. So we'll go disable blue since this team is very heavy on blue right now. So we'll just kind of go for that. See if we can go reorder the board a little bit. See if we can get something good off of Flask. Of course it would do yellow, but at least for once, this time around, we actually use yellow. So it's spawning yellow isn't as useless as it was with the Zugoff team there. We'll go for a board shuffle just because there's enough yellow that we're almost guaranteed going to land another extra turn. Almost tempted to take a Beatrix here, so we are going to do that. Try for the extra turn. I do have to be a little careful with Beatrix. Of course, gem spawning can overwrite potions, which means, of course, you don't get the value from those potions, which is a little unfortunate, but overall, you're mostly using it for its cleanse, more so than anything. And there we go, a little bit of a shaky start, but that's basically what it ends up doing. It did lose once when I used it for Blue Guild War, but it was mostly to book when it goes absolutely crazy. But a little bit of a slow start since no Empower, but it gets their job done. Definitely going to be my new Blue Guild War. It's pretty similar to what I used to use, and I'm just going to start using it now. Even though it did unfortunately lose once this time around, but it happens in Guild Wars. Anyways, for the last team I wanted to show, of course all in the description as well if you want to copy paste any of them, is the cheap Rarity team. This uses no legends, no mythics, and is basically a pure Goblin team. Actually, it is a pure Goblin team because Thief Hero class counts as a Goblin as well. So I'll end up messing with this. So this one does end up using every single color. I believe the previous one did as well, even though it was pure blue. But basically with this, we'll end up going and... oh yeah, we are frozen on red. I was so used to having the extra turn there from the previous rounds. So we are frozen on red, which is a little bit unfortunate. We do use quite a bit of red here. However, should be okay. We can end up taking that. Get a lot of mana. Even though we don't get an extra turn, it's so much mana that's probably still worth it. Goblin Rocket we can normally use for a lot of interesting board control, but without his extra turn on his explosion will be a little bit harder to do so. He has a purple to yellow convert here. So we're just going to kind of let him do that. Of course, Freeze a little bit of a hard counter to Goblin teams. Should be able to get through it, though. Unfortunately, he did just get mana drain there. Got sniped. He's entangled, too. All the bad status effects. We'll have to go for this explosion here. Go for a silence on the hero. Make sure that doesn't really end up getting much down. Goblin Rocket, unfortunately, despite us normally be able to spam him, is in a situation where we can't quite go for it. We'll go for an explosion here. Keep silencing them just to make sure they can't really get any value in that regard. We are entangled, so we aren't going to be able to get value in that regard either. So we'll try for a AoE. We did end up getting attack reduction, which is actually perfectly fine as well. We can end up making that work. So we'll go for our explosion here. Might as well just keep... Oh yeah, I forgot. You were Enraged Carindera. We cannot silence you, can we? So this is a little bit of a weird situation because our main damage source that we would be using, you know, skull pokes and the other thing, are completely disabled, but we should still be able to make this work. Goblin Rocket, I'm so tempting just to try to get down. We'll end up going for that just to make sure he doesn't end up cleansing everything. Hopefully he'll start doing his AoE. At this point, we have reduced all their attack to 0, so while we can't do anything, nor can he. I think it's actually efficient for us to kill out our first slot, though since we just disabled everything, we actually are incapable of doing so, which is kind of funny. But we can end up going for the Goblin Rocket here, end up getting a little bit of mana, and basically just keep spamming Flask. That's pretty much Flask's whole goal, is just to keep casting and just never stop casting over and over and over again. That is ideally what you would do. And even with a little bit of freeze, it can still get through it. So we'll go for a nice big poke there. Unfortunately, we really need this cleanse desperately. We'll go for that for now. Get a little bit more damage on it. I kind of just want to throw this Goblin Rocket just to get a little bit going here. We'll go for this. End up getting that down. Luckily, it actually ends up landing for the kill. We're still entangled, so can't do anything here. The power of having a cleanse on your team. So we'll go for board clear there. We are frozen on red, but I'm pretty sure we hit an extra turn somewhere in all that other mess. Also, this guy does not want to hit a single AoE when we desperately need an AoE. We'll end up going for Goblin Rocket here just to pop the reds, which should be enough to get most of our mana back. And unfortunately, despite like 3 red extra turns, we are indeed frozen on red, so it does not end up doing it. Also, of course, it goes for AoE the second he has Submerge. Wonderful. So it doesn't actually get to do that. We'll go for Goblin Rocket here. Just get a little bit of value from popping the potions. You get a lot of control out of it, which we're probably going to have to do another battle. We are really incapable of showing his proper control since, yeah, he's kind of been disabled most of the match. Still came through for us, though. So it got the job done. Even through freeze, the Goblin team still got through. Okay, let's go find a team that doesn't have freeze so we can show the cheaper team a little bit better. Of course, this is a cheaper team, so it's using quite a bit lower options. But let's see, is this thing too annoying to fight, or are we just going to fight it? He's using Tidecaller. Are we using freeze at start of battle? Can we find someone who's not using freeze at start of battle? Just to make this a little bit more convenient. He's not starting with freeze. He does have freeze, though. We'll give it a shot. Worst comes to worst, we should be able to silence him and make sure Glaceon doesn't get a cast off. He technically has freeze, but we should get rolling before he has the opportunity to really do anything out of it. So ideally that will happen and will not backfire. Okay, so we get a bunch of extra turns at the starting board. Really lucky in that regard. Pretty much already rolling. Ideally, you do want to cast Flask first, so you can then go for the explosion. We're going to want to go disable probably his hero first, just to make sure nothing weird happens off of that. We're then going to definitely want to target his Glaceon next, just to make sure he doesn't get a freeze on us. We're going to want to look out for Goblin Rocket extra turn, something we weren't really able to utilize too much the previous match, but something you're going to be using a lot whenever you use any kind of Goblin Rocket composition. But particularly one like this is looking for areas where you can end up doing an explosion in order to land extra turn and other similar things, or set up into another extra turn. Do keep in mind he does have the automatic extra turn, so you can do some really weird setup with him that is rather efficient. So we'll just end up doing this so we can know we take all that mana there. We'll end up taking the other yellow there and just get all that rolling. And you can pretty much just keep cycling your mana. We can actually throw a free Goblin Rocket here because all that yellow that's just sitting there, so make sure to take those when you can. And we should pretty much be good to go. We'll throw that down. Oh, I could have taken another free Goblin Rocket, whoops, before I did that explosion. For a little bit more value. Not too big a deal, but you do generally want to make sure you grab all those when you can. We got a lot of purple mana here, so I'm just going to go disable his Glaceon just to make sure, in case we miss this, we don't want to give Glaceon his full mana, because if you do pop those potions, while they're normally going to hit, if you're getting at minimum 21 gem spawn from that, it is possible that it misses, and while it's very unlikely, it's not impossible that it will indeed miss. Oh, the Doomskull got in the way of what I wanted to do there, fail. Not too big a deal, let's keep silencing his entire team. And just keep going from there. It looks like we are finally going to not have full mana, since I somewhat missed there because the Doomskull was kind of in the way. But not too big a deal, we'll simply take a flask, he'll do a thing, and we're already good to go. We'll go take that down. We do have some conflicting potions going on here, which can be an issue sometimes, but with our automatic extra turn, we don't actually have to worry if it lands extra turn. Even though we did end up getting an extra turn there, it does not require us to. That's one nice thing about using Goblin Rocket to pop them, is it doesn't actually matter if we land the extra turn, because, well, it has automatic extra turn attached. So even if you're only taking a potion or two, you're still going to have the automatic extra turn, even if it doesn't land on the board. So for example, right now, if I just wanted to pop this single purple, normally a single purple like this likely would not land a extra turn. However, because we have an automatic extra turn, it doesn't matter, though it did end up landing the extra turn, so it really didn't matter. But we'll go through this down, get the last little bit of our mana. Obviously, not the quickest team, but really cheap. It's pretty much infinite loop as long as you don't really mess up like I did for that one right there with that one Doomskull. But that's pretty much the whole premise of Flask. Almost everything it does is like a pseudo-infinite. They might not like truly infinite. You might make some kind of mistake. It's a lot easier to make a mistake with this team than like Truffle Spam or something similar, like that kind of infinite. But it's pretty close to true infinite, and allows you to do a very wide range of team. The only thing it can't mana generate is brown, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because, you know, most troops use 2 colors or more, so they're bound to use the other color. Even if you can still get away with using brown troops basically. And worst comes to worst, you can still use a Beatrix and be fine. Just have it for the cleanse, so you don't have to worry about freeze. You saw how devastating freeze can be on that one battle. And yeah, that's definitely similar to most loop teams. One of the biggest things that you want to try to avoid or have a counter for, like Beatrix, Apothecary, Mercy, you know, something in your team to be able to have a cleanse counter, just to make sure those kind of situations don't end up occurring. But anyways, guys, that will wrap it up for this video. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. In the description will be all 3 teams that we end up showing for this. And yeah, I'll be messing around with Flask into the future. Definitely a lot of meta teams. Definitely make sure to try around with this, because the 3 teams we showed are by no means all the teams that are viable for it. There are dozens upon dozens that are probably like ultra meta, as well as some that people may not have even discovered yet, as far as interactions they can end up doing. Insanely strong weapon, highly advised messing around with it, as has a lot of potential. And if you're playing free to play, no need to worry too much. It will be coming available to free to play several months after the fact. It's not like some games where you can't get like the season pass stuff later on. Unfortunately, it will be quite some time before it rolls back around, but it will indeed be rolling back around. And there are other alternatives that do pretty similar strong things like rope dart that can end up being quite competent to it. Anyways, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good weekend. Goodbye, everyone.